Hi, hello. In this video I'm exporting a geometry that I created in AutoCAD, as you can see here, to ABAQUS. This geometry contains some voids inside. If you have an X-ray look, you will see these voids embedded within that geometry. So what I basically do is export it, and I can make it in ABAQUS, but that would take some time. That's why I've decided to do here in AutoCAD. So it's been exported and then imported here to ABAQUS. Because it's one part, I don't need to do a lot. I'll just hit import, and here I have geometry here in ABAQUS, as you can see, with all the details inside it. In order for me to work on the plugin that I've developed, I need to create an assembly, and which it is needed here in the plugin, as you can see, with the second input box. Once that is done, I can work on the meshing this part. So meshing it as it is in the current in the current default settings will not allow me to create, will not make a periodic mesh on the sides or something close to periodic. All I can do is mesh it with tet technique and tet control, and as you can see, the mesh now will not be exactly identical on any of the sides. So I'll just go ahead and mesh it. If we have a look at the mesh, by making the model clear on both sides, you will see that mapping of the mesh is not identical on either sides of the model, but some of the sides will show some of the sides will have identical meshing because there are no details on these sides. So in order for the plugin that we have to work, we will need to use a different technique to mesh it. So here I've just deleted the seedings, and I'll try a different technique. First, I will try to seed these geometries on both sides. So I will seed them locally and select them all. I will try to seed it here by number instead of by size, so that I will have identical number of seeds on each sides of the RVE or of the model. So as you can see here, here I'm just checking that that the seeds are identical or matching up on each other. You can change the number if they're not, just to get that having the seeds on one on top of each other, and so the numbers of the seed will be equal on both sides of the model. So this is done. Now I can seed the other parts, which are the external edges of the model. I can do that by the default settings. Once all done, I can mesh it again. As you can see, the mesh is slightly different than it was before, and if we zoom in, we will see that the mesh is much better than it was before. But again, this is not as we need, like as we expect, because we can play with the mesh accuracy, of the mapping accuracy here in the plugin, but still we want to get very close to having a very identical mesh. Other than that, where even if we went with this, we were gonna have some problems with the tool while it runs. So the way I found out that it's the easiest way that I find to do that is trying to offset these sides, the ones that we get an issue with. And as you can see here, I'll just offset it so you can see it step by step. So I've just offset it as a shell layer with no thickness, basically, from edit mesh tool. And then what I'm gonna do is I will delete, or I will remove the mesh that we created, the elements that we've done. So I will delete the meshing of a part. Now I'll go back again to mesh edit tool, and I will copy the mesh pattern that we've just made. So I will select the mesh, then I will select the target surface. Once I select that, I will have to specify some points on the original mesh and specify the same points on the same order on the target mesh. So as you can see here, I've started from this point and I'm going on the same direction. I can always add points by hitting the plus sign here. I can always do that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with selecting some points on these geometries, in the material side of these geometries. Doing so will allow me to get a very accurate mapping rather than just doing the outside that I've done in the first stage of this process. So I will just hit done, and now I will need to do the target side, so I can change the view and go and do the target side. As you can see, you have to go with the same order. There is a small pink dot that tells you the order that you should follow. So if you keep an eye on that, you will be able to see that dot, just in case you lost your count or the way you were going. So all done, finished. The program is going to ask me whether I want to accept the mesh that I've created. So it seems okay, it seems fine. So I'll just hit yes. And if we can have a look at it, we will see that we've copied this mesh to this side. Now we need to do the same thing again by doing the other side. I would prefer to copy the side that we made to the other side, not the original mesh that we've done. Basically because the mesh changes a little bit, which we can't see, so we would have more accuracy if we copy the side that's already on the part. So we will follow the same steps again. Select nodes in order and ensure that we select some of the nodes that are inside the details we have to have an accurate copying or assigning mapping of the mesh. And I will follow the same thing on the other side of the RVE or of the part. As you can see, there is a small dot that kind of shows us the order, just in case we lost the order or we lost the count. It's hard to see sometimes, but here we go. So hit OK, and we accept that as well because it seems okay. So we have both sides meshed, which basically are the sides which we have problem in. Now we can delete the extra nodes that we've created. If we go to node and select these and hit delete, these will be gone, and we only gonna have those. So all of this is done. Now we can go back again and mesh the part. We will have much better meshing, mapping, as you can see here, and both sides will be, for the naked eyes, they look identical, and they look much better than they were before. So probably there are other ways to do it, but in this case I found out that this is a good technique to follow, and it's been working okay for me.